That's amazing. Okay, so welcome everybody. Marlene just wrote, "Hi Katherine, I sold my property in less than a week after you helped me with that." That is amazing. And we did it what, on a Facebook Live? Like something really simple because you asked a question and I gave you the feedback. So a couple of I think it was like close to 3 weeks ago, maybe longer. I wrote to my whole list and I said, if you could ask me anything anonymously, what would you like me to answer? And I started going through people's questions. So I've asked, sweet, she said it cleared the entities. That's amazing. So, yes. So I started getting on these Facebook Lives and actually answering your personal questions. And so if you're not on my list and you'd like to be on my list, you can go to katherinemcintosh.com and get on the list. You can also send me an email at dazzle@katherinemcintosh if you want me to answer a question anonymously. And so some of you I've answered your questions and you just need to scroll through the Facebook Lives or go to videos in this Facebook group or on this page and find the videos with topics and titles because they do resonate. And I still have probably 20 of your questions I haven't yet answered, and I'm gonna, because I really enjoy doing this. That is amazing, Marlene. So today's topic of conversation, and I do possibly want to look at a question, but I kind of want to see how far we get. So today's topic of conversation is showing up when you're raw and vulnerable. And I can only speak to this from my own experience and from my own perspective. But I will say that um oh man, being a coach or being a facilitator, being in the public eye, it's not always comfortable because I know for me, I don't always make great choices in certain areas of my life. Now, I'm pretty good at business most of the time. I'm decent at money some of the time, most of the time. I mean, I'm great at making money, don't get me wrong. But I've made some poor investment choices, or I've trusted people that I probably shouldn't have, and I should have listened to my own awareness. I've lost a lot of money in my marriages. So there's certain areas of our lives where we're really good. And then there's other areas where we're not so good. And, one of the things that got me to be where I was is when I started the no judgment diet, at first it wasn't, and this makes me want to cry, it wasn't comfortable to talk about the personal struggle that I had been having for 20 years with my body. And some of I had been anorexic and bulimic. I had been 96 pounds. I'd been 170 pounds. I gave birth to a baby at home. I kind of have been there, done that. I spent over $250,000 trying to fix my body, but really I was trying to fix my mind. And, so I started to talk about it and I started to talk about my journey. And I also started to talk about tools that I was finding that were contributing to changing my body. So, yay, catching you live. Welcome, Aurora. And so it's really fascinating because now, things have changed for me dramatically because it became really comfortable to be vulnerable with the issues I had with my body. And now I'm stepping into a new level of vulnerability, and it makes me want to cry. My mom was just visiting. She was here for 5 days, and God bless my mother. And, when things are raw for me, I kind of just like let go around my mom. So I cried a lot when she was here. I also slept a lot when she was here. And, it's fascinating at my mid 40s. And I still am like, oh my God, I'm going to let my mom take care of me. Moms are really good for that in that way. And um, I've stepped into this new level of vulnerability because I just had a conversation with somebody I care really deeply about. And she said to me, Katherine, why aren't you talking to people about what you're doing now? And I was like, I don't know how. It's too vulnerable. It's too raw. I don't have any more problems with my body. So when I originally started the no judgment diet, I had a lot of judgments. I had a lot of issues. I had a lot of insecurities. And 8+ years later, the tools of the no judgment diet combined with the tools of access consciousness, they freaking work. These tools work. And so 8+ years later, I'm waking up every day. I'm not thinking about food. I'm not thinking about what my butt looks like in my skinny jeans. I'm not worried about what I wear. I don't try to hide anything. And, I have a completely completely different relationship with my body. I just saw, my mom, I saw some of my family members I haven't seen in a while, and they're like, why are you so skinny? And I was like, they're like, are you eating? And I was like, I'm eating 4 to 5 times a day. I'm literally eating 4 to 5 meals a day. And so what I realized with this idea of being raw and vulnerable is now being vulnerable is sharing a new story. Right? And I realized that it's scary to share this new story because I don't know how to connect with people from this new place. Does that sound weird? Can you guys relate? Is anyone like, "Oh yeah, I relate to you." Like so I wanted to kind of come on here and talk about being raw and vulnerable from this place of when you share what's true for you, you open the door for people to connect to you. So if you share what's true for you and you're like, oh my gosh, I no longer have any problems with my body. Oh my gosh, I solved my money issues. Oh my gosh, I solved my insecurities in relationship. And your old way of connecting with people was to share the problem or the issue or the challenge or the struggle. And now you have a new story. Sometimes it's really raw and vulnerable to connect to people when you have a new story to tell, when the old story no longer applies, right? And this makes me want to cry because for 8 years, I have been sharing the story about the no judgment diet and getting out of judgment and how much has changed. And I realized that through sharing my story, I changed the story. Yeah? Are you guys with me? Are you with me? And so I hope that wherever you are in your journey, this isn't to say talk about your problems so you can energize your problems. This is to say, are you willing to be raw and vulnerable with what's true for you so the story can transform, so that you can actually use the story to transform, right? So Marcia says, hi, Katherine, amazing, right? And so my new story, which it's to most of you might be like, oh my God, Katherine, that feels vulnerable to you. I hate you for being where you're at. But what's really true for me is that it's scary to share that I now wake up and I'm like, oh my God, I've been working out harder than I've ever worked out before. I broke my wrist, 6 weeks ago, and it's healing really amazingly. And I'm still working out hard while not compromising my bones, not compromising my health. I eat 4 to 5 meals a day. I wake up and I'm like, oh my God, I can't wait. I wake up hungry. And for the first time in 20 years, I am eating breakfast, lunch, snack, dinner. Like I'm eating all of the time, and I have more energy. I have more space to look at what I want to create, and I have less time for these places where I spend a lot of energy starving myself or not eating or waiting to be hungry. And that was taking away from my living. And I don't know if any of you can relate, but the whole point of being on this planet and being a creative, energetic being is to enjoy the process of evolving, to enjoy the process of becoming greater. And so many of us sometimes have a hard time telling a new story. Right? So I'll give an example, right? I when I was married when I was 25 years old, right? I was just turned 25. I got married really young. I married an Ecuadorian who didn't speak any English, and, enthusiastic and bright-eyed and totally like, I was like, you know what? If we love each other enough, we can get through anything. And that wasn't actually the case. Because one person can love the other, but if the other person isn't interested in loving themselves or loving and working through the relationship, we can't get through anything. So when I got divorced, I lost a lot of money. I had owned 3 properties. I was making a lot of money. He was making almost nothing. And it really crushed me. At 27 years old, I had a decent net worth. I had a lot of investment properties, and I lost it all. And I inherited $20,000 of his debt. And when we got divorced, I quit my multiple six-figure job, and I moved to Colorado, and I started grad school. And so I put myself in debt. I wasn't making any money. Really fascinating. And so I remember for the first several years of moving to Colorado, my story was I lost all my money and now I'm broke. Right? That was my story. Now I had some money, um, and I used it to travel. I was like scared to reinvest. I'm like, I don't want to lose. Like, I already invested and made all this money and had all these properties, and then the pain of losing it, the pain of going through the divorce. So I told the story of my divorce for a while. I told the story of my suffering with money for a while. And then all of a sudden, I had no reason to suffer because I started making a lot of money. I started investing. I started playing and traveling all over the world. So I had to tell a new story. And it was really uncomfortable to tell that new story. So I'm here today because, my friends, if you're here on the planet, if you're watching this live, chances are you are constantly evolving into someone or something greater. You're constantly trying to change your story, right? Change. And so when we change our story, we also change who we're connected to, right? And so that can be really raw and vulnerable for a lot of people. And here's what I want to offer you is your vulnerability is your gift. Your story of where you are now is your gift. And your story of overcoming where you were is also your gift. I never thought that sharing like the areas where I felt insecure or struggled would actually invite people into a different possibility and into something greater. And my friends, I'm here today to say to you that wherever you are, whether you're, in the magic and so grateful for where you are, whether you've been like, wow, COVID's really hit me hard, whether you've been struggling with a relationship or struggling with your body or struggling with money, or you're not struggling and you're like, I don't have anyone to connect to because I have no problems, right? Where you are now is a gift. Where you want to go is a gift, and where you've been is a gift. And none of that is a wrongness. And so next time you are challenged with, do you share where you are? Or do you avoid sharing where you are? Just ask, if you share it, is it going to expand your reality? If you share it, is it going to contract your reality? And so a lot of times we get scared to talk about what's true. And especially, I'm going to speak for myself, especially if you don't have an issue that you're struggling with. It's so funny to talk about, like, wow, I'm struggling because I'm not struggling. I'm struggling because there's no more pain, or I'm struggling because how do you connect with people? I used to, about a decade ago, after I got out of grad school, I was studying somatic psychology, and I got out and I was like, wow, I spent a year talking about my problems, and all I did was create more problems, right? I created more problems. And I was like, what would it be like if there was a support group for people with no problems? Because I really wanted to create a safe place for people to celebrate their magic, to celebrate their ahas, to celebrate their possibilities, instead of thinking, I always have to come to the table with a problem. What if you didn't need a problem to connect to people? Is that an aha? Is that a amen, hallelujah? So, wherever you are in the world, my invitation to you today is, what if you wrote a list of all the things that you're celebrating today? What if you wrote a list of the things that light you up, of the things that make you happy, of the things that you've accomplished? Like I love Marlene says, I sold my property in less than a week after you helped me with this. And that's the gift of being vulnerable and sharing where you are, is not to energize the problem, but to create and open the door to a possibility. And so, my friends, every time you share where you are, not from, oh my God, blah, 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 but hey, this is going on for me. And I'm not really sure I know how to change it. I'm not really sure I know how to connect with people from this new place, right? Like, I don't have any problems. How do I connect with people? Or, wow, I don't have any problems with my body, but I've created a whole set of problems in another area. Oops, right? And so, my friends, when you kind of just really truly let down your guard, let down your barriers, and realize that this journey called life is an adventure and it's here for you to get clear on where you want to go and what you want to choose. And I will say that when you speak from a place of vulnerability, it opens the door for your entire life to change. You don't need to know the answers. You don't need to get life right. You just need to be willing to ask for what you want. And here's what I'm going to say: asking for what you want is actually really vulnerable. Makes me almost want to cry. And so, anywhere where you have been avoiding asking for what you want, my friends, what if it's time to turn up your lightness, turn up your brightness, and really start asking for what you want? Um, I didn't, yeah, that's like, I think all I'll say. We've got a lot of classes coming up. I've been doing this 6 month, I don't even think I could call it coaching, but I'll call it a coaching program for people. And it's this amazing, safe place where or I didn't really realize that we are creating this incredible container for people to be vulnerable and really go, hey, I didn't realize that I wanted to ask for this. I thought I could do it alone, but I don't want to do it alone. Right. But what I'll just say is we've got some amazing classes. I have a taster coming up tomorrow. Got a 6 month coaching course that starts next week. If you want to check those things out, you can go to katherinemcintosh.com/live. And if you want to just be on the email list and be up to date with everything that's coming up, if you want to send us a email and you're like, I have a question for Katherine, I want answered anonymously, then please feel free to send us an email and I'd be happy to answer it. So keep up to date because I will be doing another live answering another person's question that they sent an email in, which is a really great question. I can't wait to answer it for y'all. So thank you, my friends. Hopefully this conversation contributed to your reality. And so wherever you are in the world, I just want to invite you to not make yourself wrong for where you are, to not make yourself wrong for evolving and choosing and really seeing what's available for you every moment of every day. So that's all I got for you today. Thanks for watching and see you tomorrow. Oh, and if you like this and you want to subscribe. If you want to like, if you want to share it with your friends, share it with your friends. And as always, my friends, please stay true to you and have an amazing day. Bye for now.